Good morning from Bordeaux. This is my first podcast under the rubric, the theme of loving the French. It is my set of reflections on what it's like to live here, how I've made the success of it I think I have made, and why. And it will also paint a contrast with approaches elsewhere, many of them well set up, beautifully filmed, thoughtful, but a different strategy, I would say entirely, a different strategy at root than mine. And this people may find amusing or not, as the consequence is, I think you may. But mainly, if you're thinking of moving to France, it's something to brood on, because I made a strategic call at the beginning of this adventure. And that strategic call, as best I can tell, is unusual. And therefore, you might find it in that sense amusing, just because it's different from some of the other ideas out there on social media. All right, I've been in France for 7 years. My background, from my accent, is mid-Atlantic. Americans don't think I'm American, and Brits don't think I'm British. It's just perfect. And family of immigrants. My mother was Irish, and my father was Welsh. And by heritage, their parents had come from the old country. And we moved to the States. I was raised in Los Angeles, so I'm a film person, which is fun. And then for a whole set of different circumstances, I lived in Japan for 25 years, and then Britain. I went to Oxford and did my thing, and lived in rural England for a while in Somerset, and then ended up in basically home again in Cardiff, because that's where my family originates. So it's all good. Then, before COVID, my then partner, husband, moved to France. I had done there were medical things here, and I have a really interesting take on the French medical system as a consequence of this. But that began in Paris, and in many ways, I'm a Parisian at heart, because I'm a city boy. Los Angeles, Tokyo, vast metropolitan areas, and I love cities. My parents were from a rural background, and I thought this was strange. I learned a lot, had a good time, but not a rural person, really, although Somerset was a delight to be exquisitely beautiful, so that was cool. Anyhow, there we go. Ended up in France in 2019, and then COVID struck. So the notion of being here, it's 7 years, but it hasn't been 7 years, if you see what I mean, because of circumstance. But now, for, again, personal reasons I'll relate later, this has become the home most of the time. Most of the year I'm here, and my life has taken a radical change for, again, the reasons that I will set out in later podcasts. But I just wanted to talk about two things. I've just identified one fundamental strategic call in this, and that is, are you a townie or are you a country boy? This is decisive. If you want a rural idyll, village life, and some of the villages here are simply gorgeous, just simply extraordinary. Or are you a town city? And I'm not a suburbanite. I was raised in suburbia in Los Angeles. Suburbia is not my thing. Centre-ville, ville-centre, to be in the middle of it, to be in the middle of Bordeaux, or to be in the heart of Paris. I think probably my favorite arrondissement in Paris are the 7th or the 11th, just for all kinds of interesting reasons. But in Bordeaux, this is technically the 2nd arrondissement, although nobody calls it that, and it's the Chatron, and it's, what can I say, it's adorable. And I've really, really enjoyed being here, and I have never lived anywhere else. And as far as I can tell, I will never live anywhere else, because this is my favorite place. Now, having said that, the other really, really important distinction here, which I find other people ambivalent about, and that ambivalence is summarized and travels under a single English word, not American word, but an English word, which is expat. Someone who's a tourist, in my view, who stays too long, but that's unkind, but that's how I feel about it. I am not an expat. I am an immigrant, and my intention is to apply for French nationality this year. And that doesn't make me French. I have no illusions. I mean, wasn't born here, and I don't speak French as native. but I'm the next best thing. I'm a foreigner who lives in France, who's devoted to this country, and more importantly, devoted to its people, hence my theme, loving the French. Primarily, in my heart of hearts, I moved here not because of the food or the wine or the architecture or the history or any of those visual external things, inorganic things. I came here to be with them. I came here to be with the French because I'm very, very fond. I love the qualities they display. I even like their faults. And so this means a different take on this. This is personal. So having French in all kinds of places in one's life, I mean all kinds of places in one's life, has been one of the great joys of being older because they have changed me. I wanted to be changed. I didn't know where I was at the beginning, but I wanted to be changed by this experience. It has changed me. It has made me better, happier, more engaged with life, more full of bounce, and I blame them entirely. The French, in my case, have delivered the whole package. And as a consequence, I'm grateful to them. This has been a really, really good experience. It doesn't mean that it was, this is an adjustment. There are good days and bad days, but the good days are superb, and the good days vastly outnumber the bad days. So, if I wanted to put my philosophy of this in two words, in a contrast of approach, partner we've already alluded to, town and country, and people. The people motif is central, and therefore I describe my strategy to living here as organic and not organized. Now, to live here, you have to be organized. You have to have a proper legal status. You have to buy property, rent property. There are things that have to be organized. But the overwhelming impression I have of a great number of people who do sites like this is that they are into the organization. Their listeners, people who follow them are into the organization, and they think French life is about organization. Living here is about being, in some sense, organized. And I don't agree with that at all. I am organized, but I'm here organically. I'm here because I want connection with the society, every level, in every room. Note the point. And therefore, this be among them, with them, and as close as possible to being one of them, because I enjoy it so much. And my job here is to be a really good addition to my community. And in return, they have been really good to me. And we know this. There's an intuitive thing about my affection for them. And they recognize it, they sense it. I mean, the French are not Italians. They're Latins, but they're not Italians. And I have Italian in-laws up to my elbows. And so I know about Southern Italians and their approach to the romantic quality of life, which is different from the French. French are cooler cats all the way around, by and large. But I enjoyed the French, and I needed, for reasons that, again, I'll explain, I needed that coolness, that self-regard, that rationality, that clarity of insight. I needed that during some bumpy periods of my life, and the French provided it. So, I do miss the Italian warmth and romanticism and the whole bounce of the Southern Italians and food. We'll talk about the food. So, organic. On many levels, what that word means, not organized, not organic. My primary port of call when I came here was to find a perfect place to live as a community, not a property transaction. When I came here, I was looking for French people to spend my life with, not, how can I explain this without being bad? I'm not a tourist. I'm a séjourniste. I'm a resident who enjoys, and the primary governing principle of a séjourniste is pleasure, plaisir, to enjoy French life in all of its varied forms. And because plaisir is not an organizing principle, it's a life principle. I'm here because I want to live a certain way, and I am living a certain way, and I'm living it with them. So, there, we started. We set out a set of principles, different perhaps that you'll encounter elsewhere. It is something to keep in mind because I really, really don't think being organized is enough. Not enough. Not to make this a pleasure. And France is a pleasure. And so to miss out on those things and be well organized strikes me as getting horse and cart backwards. Anyway, final thoughts? A vignette. Just a vignette, just typical of this place. I live on a street, one way, and one day I came down, because I live on the first and second floor, came down to my apartment, looked down the street, and there was a car slowly moving down the street toward the end. And there was a bicycle, a little boy on a bicycle, 9, 10, jumping, moving in parallel. But this is interesting. So I waited to see what would happen when they got to the end of the street. And when they got to the end of the street, a hand went up in the car, and the little boy's hand went up. And then I realized his mother was going off to work, and he was going off to school, and they had a race to the end of the street. Now, there's charm, and then there's border. So, point to remember. Talk to you soon.